Hello and welcome to this 5-minute teaching on the supernatural love of God. I'm Pastor Jack Shoup with Grace Fellowship of Georgetown, Kentucky. Please don't be threatened by my battle droid behind me. He's on standby mode and poses no threat for this broadcast. And so we've been talking about the power of God's supernatural agape, that there's a love that God's made available to us. In fact, it's our responsibility to walk in it. A love that's supernatural in content. A love that manifests as anointings, as atmospheric empowerments that cause darkness to be dispersed, to be destroyed. And God said in these end times, He wants every believer to walk in this agape. But the question is, how do we do it? Because we cannot walk in this by mere willpower alone. We find in 1 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 5, it's going to take a pure heart, which is what you get when you're born again. A good conscience is what you get by spending time in the Word. You find out who God made you, how you've been forgiven. It reprograms, it rewires your thinking to think in alignment with love. And then step number 3, or ingredient number 3, is genuine faith. And we've been talking about to walk in faith, you first got to speak what God has said about you, what's available to you. So you begin to confess love into your life. And you confess scriptures like Ephesians chapter 3, verse 14 through 20. That Christ dwells in our heart by faith, we're rooted and grounded in love. Speak it over your life. And then you act on it. We've been talking about if you believe you're going to walk in supernatural agape, you got to live and function and act like that love is upon you. Because usually in most cases, before we see a manifestation of anything by faith, we first have to speak and act like that promise is true. And so if you believe that you're to walk in supernatural love, then start responding in a love fashion. Start moving out and acting as if that love was already upon you, and it will manifest in your life. I've discovered the most powerful times God moves upon me in anointings is when I step out to pray for people out in public, or even in a prayer line. But out in public, if I offer to pray for people, more often than not, the anointing comes on me, God's presence comes on me, and I'm able to see the power of God released. In the same way, if we want love released on our life, we've got to step out and act like we believe the promise of love is true for us. What does love do? God so loved the world, He gave His very best seed. He gave the very best He had to see the power of His love released upon the earth. And so through Jesus, we've been given grace, rights, access to this agape. When they came to Jesus, when He was involved in His earthly ministry, they said, "We want to see Him." And Jesus said, profound statement, "Verily, verily, I say unto you, except a corn of wheat fall into the ground and die, it abideth alone. But if it die, it bringeth forth much fruit." Now, Jesus was prophesying His own death, burial, and resurrection. He was saying, I've got to die so men can really see the fullness of who I am and what I'm providing. Through His death, burial, and resurrection, it made it possible we could be born again. We could be once again, we could be actually, for the first time, created in the image of love. So we were born with a sin nature, but through being born again by faith in Jesus Christ, we can receive God's internal indwelling nature of love. And because then we've received the nature of love, the Spirit of God can move within us, and we can walk in the fullness of love. But He said that corn of wheat must fall to the ground and die. In the same way, you as a seed, if you want to walk in supernatural agape, you've got to live your life as a seed. You've got to be willing to die to your own desires. When a corn of wheat, any kind of seed, falls to the ground, for it to germinate, for it to bring forth growth, for it to produce fruit, the outer shell that houses the programming of that seed, holds the life of that seed, that outer shell must be dissolved and fall away. And in the same way, God's calling us by faith to set aside our walls we've built, the outer shells we've established to protect our own psyche, to protect our own heart, protect us from hurt or being used. We've got to let that be dissolved away. And when we do, we say, Father, I'm going to live for you. I'm going to live my life as a seed. I'm going to be a person that's there for other people, regardless if they take advantage of me or not at times. I'm not saying to live as a sucker, to be willing for people to let you down. When you make that decision and you live life as a seed, you die to self, and you live for the needs of other people, you're Position yourself to walk in supernatural agape. Be blessed.